There's a reason you woke up with that thought every day. There's a reason that when you look at the problems in the world, you feel like, I see a solution that other people aren't seeing. That's what you should do. Even if nobody responds in the way you think they're going to respond, you will not spend your whole life wondering, what if I actually did that thing I thought was important?
Welcome to the Caring for Strangers podcast, a series of conversations to help us all find the folks we want to do work in life with. And I've had this amazing experience of having folks who have helped me in this journey, and very happy to share those folks with you guys. Today is awesome. Fun, magical, a little whimsical. I'm probably going to be all over the place because I'm a pretty major fan of our guest today. I met him at a workshop where he was encouraging me. It's where this podcast came from. Frankly, was that workshop. He's amazing at storytelling, and he definitely encouraged me with his deep belief that we all have a story to tell. And so today, please help me welcome Taylor Hughes to the Caring for Strangers podcast. Taylor, would you add anything to the introduction that you'd love for people to know about you?
I mean, I'm here kind of selfishly because we had such a great time at the workshop and dreamed up some ideas, and you've been working like crazy on them. And so it's just, I was super stoked when you asked me to be a part of this, because I mean, it's great that we're recording this for other people. I'm just excited we get to hang and talk, and we've been up to some mischief that we've got planned for down the road. And so, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm stoked.
So when we talk about caring for strangers, when we talk about the intersection of what you do and caring for strangers, and where do you think those two intersect? Like, what resonates with you in this space of finding people we want to do work in life with?
It's great. I love this topic because the fact that most of my life is meeting strangers, right? Like, I am on the road about 100 days a year doing either corporate keynotes or MC or magic shows with comedy. And as part of that, I'm regularly getting introduced to strangers. And what I've found is that the more interested you get in other people, and not trying to be so interesting yourself, but just be concerned and caring for other people and being interested in them, you end up meeting strangers and then walking away with a bunch of new friends. I think about the day that we met, and it was a bunch of adults pretending we were at summer camp for 2 days. And something about that just opens us up to where, everyday moments can be these things where it's like, oh, I met somebody. My daughter calls them 1 week friends. Like, when you go as a kid, your family goes on vacation, you're staying at a place, or you're at a hotel, and you meet the other kids at the pool, and you become buddies because we're just here together. And she calls them 1 week friends. Like, some of those friendships that you make, you only knew them for that week. Sometimes you see them 5 years later, and it's like no time had passed because you're able to go so deep in such a quick way. And so when you talk about caring for strangers, that's really what sparks to mind, is how can we, in short amounts of time, be present and engaged with people and try to see the world through their eyes, so that we can make a connection that goes beyond just, someone you happen to be sitting at a work dinner.
I had that experience of you guys, you and Kim and Bob, setting the table so well for deep and meaningful conversations. And I think about the deep and meaningful conversations about when a stranger walks into somebody's office, and
Yeah.
they're having, and how often and how hard it is to, in 30 minutes or an hour, like we had 2 days. But how did you, what's the magic behind setting the table well for people to feel comfortable being that vulnerable with each other that quickly?
Yeah. It's funny. We were talking just a moment ago. I brought up summer camp, but I have tried to adopt something that I learned as a kid. I went to a lot of summer camps as a kid. I loved it. And then I spent years after that working with young people, and we would run summer camps. And the thing I noticed that made for those, 48-hour, 72-hour events to be these life-changing things is a couple things. Number one, there was a lack of distraction, right? Because you come in with all this stuff you've got going on, but for 2 days, you're like, I'm just going to be present. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be with people. And then number two, the only agenda is I'm here to make friends and make memories. right? And so often I feel like our lives are with people, but not really engaging with them. We're in a meeting, we're trying to solve a problem, and oftentimes the issue is how do we solve the problem, not what are these other humans who have like vastly different experiences from me, what do they have going on in their life. Sometimes the solution doesn't come from what we write on the whiteboard in a meeting. Sometimes it comes from the guy sitting next to you who just had a different perspective. And so the more you can engage in conversation and connect and just be like, hey, yes, we're here to do something, but beyond that, the people we're here with is the magic part. And so I think just shifting that perspective of taking the attention off the problem you're trying to solve, whether you're already on a team or whether the problem is who are we going to get on the team. And when someone comes in to interview, or when you're having a conversation with a potential client or a potential coworker, really just shifting the attention off the problem you're trying to solve and just trying to see the world through that person's eyes. Because sometimes you're surprised by people who you would have immediately written off because they didn't have, they didn't go to the school you would wish they had gone to, or they haven't had, the years of experience. But when you talk to someone and you see the way they see the world, you start to realize, like, oh my goodness, maybe there's more than just what's written on the page here. You got to take your eyes off the page and like look into someone else's eyes. And that's when I think we start making connections.
Oh, I just finished a book that someone in Young Life gave me, Our Town, Our Kids. It talks a little bit about inefficient conversations.
Yeah.
Just yes, yes, yes. No agenda,
Yeah.
just being with people. Like, yeah. So that's really hard to do in
Yeah.
in that setting. The other thing that was so impactful for me, there's a superpower you have in shifting the chemistry of a brain.
Mm.
I mean, using your talents, and all the talent that was there, quite frankly, it felt very purposeful.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it overlays with what you were just talking about too.
It's so nice of you to call it a talent. For years, I've just been called a nerd. Yeah, for folks who I haven't gotten to connect with yet, I do a lot of different things, but I always use magic tricks and illusions as a metaphor. And it's intentional. It's not because I think we've all seen a magician who's like, look what I can do that you can't do. I think that concept is silly because all of us can do things that would be impressive to other people. Because if I spent time with you and learned about your work and what you've been focusing on for years, I'd be amazed and I wouldn't be able to do it. The reason I use magic tricks in corporate settings especially is because we get so comfortable thinking we have it all figured out. We've got people figured out, we've got business figured out, we've got our life figured out. The minute you can show a grown person who is very intelligent, magic, fooling someone with magic isn't about them being unintelligent or not knowing. It's showing somebody something that just for a moment they go, I don't know what just happened. I don't understand what just occurred. It opens us up in a way where we start to think maybe there's some other things I don't understand, right? Maybe there's some things about the people I work with, or this problem that we've been hitting the wall on, or my own performance that's been lacking. Maybe there's some things I don't understand. And I think we want to be comfortable, especially in the workplace. We want to put ourselves in the situation of, I know I have all the answers. And I love being able to use magic as a little, my buddy out of Ireland, Keith Berry, he calls himself a brain hacker because he literally does. Like, he does something you don't understand. And for a moment, in a world where we can Google everything, it makes us go, maybe there's more I don't have figured out. And that's when we can start talking about like really important things.
I love that. Frankie Russo, we had a speaker about a
Yeah.
year ago, and he told a story about NASA when JFK had put out the from the Earth to the Moon by when. So
Right.
NASA came up with a creativity test, and they gave it to all the astronauts, and all the
Okay.
astronauts failed the creativity test. And then they decided, well, let's see, maybe our test is, let's give it to 5-year-olds. they got 100. The 5 year olds all like they absolutely, and so they decided to do it in a wide and follow a large group of 5 year olds for 15 years until they were 20 years old. And so it was amazing how when the world got to us, our
Yeah.
creativity got smaller and smaller and smaller and
Yeah.
smaller. And his point was the same point you're making, which is completely right. You're not going to solve the problem with the same thinking, or with your own thinking. You're really going to have to go back to joy and whimsy
Yeah.
and making different pathways in your brain to be able to. And that was my experience. But your other superpower was storytelling. But there's a lot of them. But that's so. Um, and one thing I noticed was how personal,
Mm.
vulnerable. Walk me through how storytelling might help somebody in the space of interviewing somebody or talking with somebody new.
Well, there's different scenarios, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you're in a meeting and that person, it feels like, and I'll use entertainment phrases, it feels like they're auditioning for you, right?
Yep.
They're wanting to be brought into what you're doing. Other times, as an interviewer, you're talking to someone who's really experienced or really high level, like they're the top of your list. I want this person on the team. And so it in sometimes it switches where you feel like as the interviewer, you're interviewing to have, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And I think in either case, storytelling is the hack. Like if you can, as a leader of a team, communicate clearly the vision of what you're doing. If you really can attach to not just what we do for work and what our sales numbers are and how much, how high performing the team is, when you can humanize it, when you can get down to like, hey, this is the work that we're doing and why that work matters. I feel like storytelling is the best way to do that. And it could be stories of why the company started. It could be stories of a customer that you worked with that their life was transformed because of the work that the team did. People want to be a part of things that matter, right? We are trading our time. Oftentimes, we're trading our time for money. And there's a lot of places that we could do that. People want to, at the end of the day, go home and feel like they made a difference and they had an impact. And so storytelling allows you to take it beyond, again, beyond what is on the sheet. Here's how much we pay. Here's our benefits package. Here's how many days off you get, and get to the stuff that really matters. Like, hey, you're going to spend a majority of your time over the next 20, 30 years working. We want it to matter, and so I think whether you're interviewing someone to be on the team or you're interviewing for a position, communicating a story. I know when I talk to people about projects, we have a mutual friend who I've worked on a lot of projects with. The thing that makes me excited about working with him is his passion for the work and his ability to see how what he does can fit into what I'm wanting to do and how we can accomplish something together. That doesn't just happen by saying those words. It happens by telling a story, right, and sharing how we can make an impact together. So I think whether it's business relationships, personal relationships, I think relationships with your kids, anytime you can tell a story, that's how we connect as humans, right? Since we were sitting around fire pits, and we did this at our little
We
our
did.
little
Sat around fire pits and
retreat.
told. Yep.
I mean, that's incredible to me, is that we had great speakers. I mean, our mutual friend Bob, who is like a 5-time New York Times best-selling author. Like, the guy knows more about writing books than anybody. The most impacting thing for me about those experiences is not what's said on stage, it's what's said around a fire pit. And you walk away with somebody who shared a story. That's the stuff I call my wife when I'm driving back to the airport, and I go, I met this guy and he told me this story and you're not going to believe this, right? So storytelling is, in my opinion, the best way that we can connect with one another. I used to, for years, do close-up magic at parties. Like, I was that guy who would interrupt you while you were having a good time with the hopes that I could give you a better time. And while I don't do that anymore, I learned a lot doing close-up magic at parties and corporate events and celebrations. I learned that if I was showing somebody a card trick, for say, let's say I'm showing someone a card trick, and their best friend in the world walks up to them, and they would stop me and they go like, I'm so sorry, I appreciate you, but my buddy just got here. And I'd be like, no problem, and I'd walk away. If I, as a magician, was telling a story and I was still doing magic, but I was telling a story, their best friend in the world would walk up. They'd be like, oh, you're here. Hold on 1 second. Come over. Tell him what you were telling me. Because humans, we can't handle not hearing how a story ends. Have you ever been on a train and you hear
So true.
somebody say something?
Yeah.
You hear someone say something on the subway and you think about it for 3 weeks. What was that guy talking about? It's killing me that I don't hear the other, right? So
The
I
open
think,
loop. Yep.
yeah, I think that learning how to communicate through storytelling will transform your life.
Well, so you were talking about calling your wife. So I called my staff,
Yeah.
Amanda, who's my right hand, and the reason I can sleep at night at the company.
Yeah.
I call her on the way as I'm on my way to the airport, leaving the Oaks with you guys, right?
Yeah.
And we have to start interviews differently, right? Like my
Yeah.
one of my takeaways was everybody's got to have. We're talking about the company and culture and all those things that people are going to ask questions about and want to know, but I want you to talk about you, and I
Yeah.
want you to talk. I want you to tell your story
Yeah.
meaningfully and why you the bumps, the bruises, the good, the
Yeah.
bad. Like give it all to them. Figure out how to do that in 5 minutes or less,
Yeah.
and be vulnerable and start every interview that way. And
Yeah.
what a difference that has made for us. Like, and
So
now we
good.
train recruiters the same way. Like that's the for me, I'm telling story about I'm an entrepreneur and how that happened and I didn't grow up that way with money, and I'm talking about how I should have went bankrupt at one point, right? I give a
Yep.
short version of some very deep stuff, and
Yep.
I give them a chance to walk into that room and breathe before
Yeah.
they have to start answering questions. Also, like
That's so good.
it does a couple things at the same time. But that was takeaways from that came directly from in a more meaningful way than we were doing it.
And there's little hacks you can do. Like if business leaders are like, okay, how do I shift that in the interview? We get so used to the type of questions we ask. I think sometimes it's just asking a better question,
Yep.
right? I mean, one of Bob's favorite questions is, who are you? Where are you? What do you want?
Yep.
It's interesting that it seems so simple, but who are you starts with the easiest thing to talk about. Well, who's who I am, right? Where are you? Okay, where am I at in life right now? Like I came here thinking about where I'm headed, right? I came here because I want to go someplace else, but where am I really at?
That's right.
And then what do you want? Holy moly, I want a job. Well, why do you want this job? What is it that you really want at the end of the day in life? So I mean, a question I love to ask people is, when was the last time you changed your mind about something? It's a question that we don't get asked often and we don't think about, but it could be as silly as, oh, I used to think I didn't like Neapolitan ice cream and now I love Neapolitan ice cream. Or it could be, I used to think this way about this big issue and now I think totally differently. I think that tells you a lot about a person. If you talk to an adult who has not changed their mind about something in 30 years, that tells you a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
you're diving. Humbleness is what comes to mind for me. That the
yeah,
behavior that you're going to dive into well with
yeah,
that question. Yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Uh,
Yeah, and even like you can try this with your friends when you're sitting at lunch with somebody, you're catching up with a buddy. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. This and that. No, 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 no. There's a certain even the way I just responded. That's how we talk. Oh yeah, things are good. Life is good, right? And then you go, how are you really doing,
yeah.
right? Or what did you just think about that you didn't say to me? Like, just sometimes it's
Ooh,
just
love that one too. Yeah,
one extra question that tips it over the edge where it gets, again, it's like a magic trick. It gets us out of that, people ask me this, I respond this way, versus what's keeping you up at night. I mean, like just questions like that I think that the more we ask those, the quicker we get to deeper stuff. And then if you're gonna ask someone a question like that, being generous enough to like sit there and really listen, because you're asking them to
that's right.
open up. You got to be like, hey, I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There is a point. our friend Chris Ruggiero even talks about it in podcasts. Like
Yep.
there's a point in a conversation where it changes, right?
Yes.
It gets deeper, it gets more relational, and I agree with you. I also love Bob's question: how does it feel to be Taylor today? That one that is a beautiful that I learned from him.
Yeah.
Anyway, and one of the things I love about that question from an interview standpoint is there's a lot of times when people are walking in with something that is going to run in the background until you let it out,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
by letting it out, you're allowing that to. So yeah, no, well said.
I've had some experience with like actual auditions, and it's interesting. I've had job interviews in the past, and I've had auditions for like TV shows and film and things like that. And it's interesting in both scenarios. In both scenarios, you can tell as the person being interviewed the moment they've made a decision, right? Where they go like, "Oh, okay, conversation. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We'll let you know what we decide." I think if I was in a position of hiring someone and I wanted to care for strangers, I would make it a rule with my team that once you know we kind of know where we're headed, now we shift the conversation and it's not about what we're trying to do, but it's about what they're trying to do. You know you're trying to fill a position. Even if you decide that that person's not the right thing, if you're caring for strangers, you also want that person to be in the best position they can be in. And so think about that. If you run a company, you've got some knowledge and experience. You could spend 3 extra minutes just pouring into that person. Imagine if you went on a job interview and you didn't get the job, and yet that interview changed your life. Like, we have that opportunity,
We do.
right? Sometimes when you see that someone's not the right fit for the role you're filling, you know, oh, it's because they're gifted in this thing. And we're not looking for that right now, but that's their expertise. You could really just go like, hey, I'm going to spend 2 extra minutes out of my day or 3 extra minutes out of my day and see just how I can support this person and, leave them feeling better than when they walked in.
So you just hit on what I hope God is allowing me to live through purpose, which is help bring people to a better place. Me personally, not company or all my recruiters or whatever, but one of the questions I love to ask first is if world stuff aside,
Yeah.
financial constraints, like what gives you, what would you just love to be doing if all the pressures were gone?
Yeah.
Right. And if you've teed it up well, you'll get and a lot of times even before that, I'll say, can we put this position aside for a second? Like
Yeah.
let's we'll get there, right? Like we know what we're here to do, but let's just see if I can help you get somewhere you're trying to go. Who cares if it's exactly where we thought this
Yeah.
was going to go today, right? So then you get to really learn. To your point earlier, then you get to really learn about someone, whatever God put into them. That's a little miracle that you got a piece of God that nobody else has got. You get to figure out what that is, then, right? Like, or at
Yeah.
least see a little piece of it. So if I asked you that question, where would it go?
Oh, this is great. Our another guy that we do some events with, Mike Foster, wrote a book called The Seven Primal Questions. And my primal question is, do I have a purpose? At the end of the day, I want people to be seen. I want people to know they're not alone. And I want, whenever I connect with people, I want them to laugh and to have a good time and to be amazed. But I want them to leave going, maybe I should go call my dad.
Mm.
Maybe I should finally start doing that thing I've been talking about. I love seeing people do the thing they're uniquely qualified to do and the thing that they really want to do. And if I've learned anything over the last, I don't know, 30 years and doing show businessy stuff, is that the people that are doing it are just the people that decided they wanted to do it. Like, this idea of gatekeepers on your dreams doesn't exist. Like, you may not get hired by that company, But if there's a thing you want to do and you really want to do it more than anybody else wants to do it, you will do it. So, yeah, I just want people to experience that kind of stuff.
I love every bit of that. Thank you for sharing that. Mine is am I loved? So the
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So Mike Foster's primal question, and that's our primal. It's our gift to the world to some
It's
extent.
good. Yeah. So for
So
folks who haven't read it,
yeah,
his whole conceit is that whatever your major question is, your primal question is, like yours is, am I loved? Wondering, do people love me? Your superpower is that in an affirmative, right? So you have this ability to make, sometimes the most insecure people on the planet make people feel really, really safe and comfortable and loved and cared for. And so, um, I love his work on that because it takes it from being a negative to being a positive, right? It's um, yeah, yeah,
no,
and if people are like, "What is my purpose?" Well, what is the thing you're most concerned about, or you worry about? You're probably really good at helping other people answer that.
my Bob Goff
Yeah.
Wilson ball, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it reminds me I have 2 ears and one mouth, and I need to
Yeah.
listen more, right? That's the hardest part, I think, you really have to slow down and listen. Like when you're trying to, I don't know. There's been a lot of work on trying not to feel like you're the smartest person in the room. Like if you're always trying to impress, then you're always working in your brain and you're never listening. Like you're always thinking about the next thing you're going to say, and that definitely is a piece of for everyone who's meeting strangers, no matter where you are. It's okay for the thing to go a little slower or there to be a little pause. I much prefer that. I struggle with it, but yeah, no, I'm glad you said that.
I'm so glad you brought up this idea of like so often when someone else is speaking, we're just waiting for our chance to jump in, or we're already determining what the response is going to be. Like we're so afraid of not having something to say when someone stops talking that while they're talking, we're thinking how we're going to react to what they're saying. And that what you just said is like master class level, like leave space. And if you just even decide that, there's that point when someone stops talking and we immediately are like, oh yeah, and also that, if you just sit and look at them and wait 5 seconds, sometimes that's when they're going to go, oh well, also, and the next thing they say is the real thing,
Yes.
right? Like giving. I work with a lot of teams, and one exercise I love to do, and what I love these moments where you can create them, and it takes nothing. This is a 4 minute experiment. It'll take 4 minutes out of your meeting. So let's say 5 minutes. It'll take 5 minutes out of any meeting, and it will change your team. And here's what you do: you spend 1 minute explaining it. You spend 4 minutes in the exercise. You get everyone to pair up, and you say, we're going to practice generous listening. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to propose a question, and it could be, what does it feel like to be you right now? Right. Or who are you? And you're not allowed to talk about what you do. Right. Um, and the rule is you pair up with someone, you look them in the eye, and you give person number one and person number two. We'll start with person number one is going to answer the question for 2 minutes. We're going to set a timer. Person number two, you have to look them in the eye. You're not allowed to respond. You're not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to talk at all. You just look at them and listen to them. You'll learn a few things. You'll learn, and then after that 2 minutes is over, then you swap and you have this person speak and this one listen. And you will learn how much of your time is spent in your own head instead of trying to get into someone else's experience. And you'll also learn how much can be accomplished in such a short amount of time when you really listen. Sometimes we're not listening when a problem is proposed, and then we spend all of our time trying to solve a problem that we didn't really hear what the problem was, right? So I think that's another little tool that people can try with the people that they're working with right now. I'm just like, hey, what would it be like if we really listened and engaged and didn't immediately jump into action trying to fix something? Just heard where people are at.
Thank you. that is a big gift, and I do think that it took my leadership team and I a long time to get there. It's less about the time wasted, and it's more about the relationship could have been much different. I think all of that also, when people aren't heard, it just changes the relationship. So it's layered, right? It's not just that you're attacking the problem, it's also that future problems just got harder because of, right. So I'm grateful for that. So I would say, as we kind of land the plane, one of my experiences of you, and you've uncovered it several times in several different ways here, maybe a story associated with somebody in this space, or maybe what you've seen. But I know in interviewing, I see a lot of people. I mentioned the question around outside pressures, not encouraged, or not. They're stuck, or they need someone to spark them, or they need something to spark them to uncover what they're really, really great at, or have the encouragement or the courage to go after it. Like, you've seen more of that probably than anybody I've spoken with. How does it happen? What would you say to people who are stuck?
I think it comes through communication with other people. So you can't do it on your own. I think if you're an individual and you're trying to figure out what what is my purpose, what am I good at, where am I gifted, I think asking the people closest to you who know you is a big one. I also think a little self-exploration of what's the thing you wake up every morning thinking about and you go to bed annoyed that it didn't happen, right? Some people have had a book in their heart for 30 years, and and yet and simultaneously every day they wake up thinking about how this thing needs to exist, and they think I'm not the person to do it. No one else is waking up thinking about your dream, right?
Right.
Nobody else is thinking like, oh, how am I going to get Chad's words out into the world? Like, this is there's a reason. I fully believe, and for some people they're going to say it's God. For some people they're going to say it's the universe. Or for some people they're going to say it's bad pizza the night before. Whatever it is, like, there's a reason you woke up with that thought every day. There's a reason that when you look at the problems in the world, you feel like I see a solution that other people aren't seeing. That's what you should do. And maybe that's not the end game of what you do, but it's definitely a first step, right? Because even if nobody responds in the way you think they're going to respond, you will not spend your whole life wondering, what if I actually did that thing I thought was important?
Well said. We do need to trust that voice more than we probably trust that voice. At least I do, I know. So,
Well, and for people working with teams, leaders of teams, this is your job. Yeah, no, I know your job is to sell computer chips. I know your job is to, design and fabricate things. I know that's your job, but your real job is to get the people that work with you to feel so interconnected and on, vision of what's happening and fired up and to see their place in the bigger picture. So often leaders are afraid that spending too much time in meetings talking about your feelings is going to negatively affect profits. And I worked with an organization who was really like, their upward trajectory was massive for 15 years. And here's what I've noticed is that a lot of times you have this thing where people start something because they got this dream and this passion. You know what they don't have? They don't have people, they don't have money, they don't have resource, they don't have, they don't have funding, they don't have all this stuff, but they got this dream and they rally people around the dream. This happens in businesses, it happens with nonprofits. So massive meteoric rise because we're doing it all built on dream and passion and energy. And what happens? That attracts people, that attracts money, that attracts resources. And now they've got mortgages and they've got bills and they've got payroll, and all their attention goes on managing what they've gotten, and instead of like continuing to pursue the dream of why we're doing what we're doing. And then things plateau, and about 5 or 10 years later they start dipping down. And I've seen it over and over and over with organizations where when we start, it's all about people, and that works. And then we make it about profits or about programs, and then it tanks. And so I think that we all know we want to work with people we want to be around. We want to work with in places where we feel empowered and encouraged. And what you're doing by caring for strangers and turning people that walked into an office for the first time, turning those people into like legitimate family, not using that as like a keyword or a
Right.
something that we don't actually do. It changes people's lives and businesses excel. Like I can walk into, as a guy who spends uh most of my time is either at a sales conference, or it's your annual conference, it's your holiday celebration. Like I party with companies. Right, when I come in, it's the time that people are their
Celebrating.
absolute best,
Yep.
and I can tell the vibe of that environment, because when you see people who are uncomfortable and you're like, when are we going to get out of here, you just know they don't feel appreciated, they don't feel encouraged. That affects your sales, that affects your profit. So putting people first is not only the right thing to do, it's the best business decision you'll ever make.
Oh, that's wonderful. I would thank you for that. That's a huge nuggets. And that part where you're talking about the plateau,
Yeah.
where he or she who had the dream is now managing a business instead of chasing the dream, that is a very lonely place. I cannot tell you how many entrepreneurs I've seen get stuck like
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And that is the part where it's time to find your who, right? Like
Yes.
that is the part where this is you have, I tend to be a startup serial entrepreneur, so
Yeah.
I love to hand things off, but most people don't.
Yeah.
And I have my own control issues over some things too. But that's the part where it's time to bring in somebody and trust somebody else and really continue to do what you're amazing at. But it's so easy to get stuck in that.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. So, what are you working on as that you want folks to know about? What's giving you energy right now? Like what do you
I'm
what's
just
up with
excited.
it?
I mean, I'm just excited about encouraging people. If people are interested in my silly comedy magic stuff, I've got 3 specials out. I got 2 on YouTube, and I got 1 on Amazon. So then go see stuff there. I'm touring right now. I'm doing comedy magic shows around the country, and then spend a lot of time with companies just trying to encourage their teams to look at life from in their work from a different space. So on my YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of things that will help you tell stories better. Got a public speaking masterclass on there that's free, and just trying to see people do what they do and have fun doing it.
That's awesome. So well, I'm so grateful for spending time with you. This has been amazing. And any last thoughts? Any key takeaways for you as we end?
I would say right now, if you're listening to this, there's somebody that you've been worried about. It could be a coworker, it could be someone that's a boss, it could be your kid, and you've been worried about where they're at, and you've been thinking like, what's going on with them? Why are they being this way? What's happening with them? I would encourage you to just go talk to that person. Go take them to lunch. Go take them to lunch and have no agenda other than how you doing. Like I think that the more you've learned this through doing podcasting, it's so weird how often, I mean, you and I have known each other and we've got to be in shenanigans and stuff, but I also know you've talked to people that this is the first conversation you've had with them. And at the end of it, you leave with a new best friend. And there's nothing like just getting together with somebody and having uninterrupted time to connect with where they're at. So you can do that today, whether you have a podcast or not. Just go take your kid to lunch. Take them out of school. You're the parent. You make the rules. Take them out of school. Take them to lunch. Just let them know you care about them. Let them know, hey, I know that's been challenging, but we're gonna get through it together. And they'll be like, what just happened? Right? Everyone assumes when you do something out of the ordinary, you have an agenda, and when you don't, it's a magic trick. It's a way to just change the dynamic. So
1,000%. And I would say if you do that
yeah,
and they look super uncomfortable and they don't know what's going on, great.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's exactly you're
yeah,
changing brain chemistry and you're helping somebody learn and grow, and you're doing
Yeah.
it yourself too. Like that's, so yeah, thank you for
And
that.
it's just fun.
It's just fun. Yes. Oh, Taylor, this has been awesome, man. Thank you for this. What a gift.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Keep these conversations going. The world needs them.
I will, for sure. Thanks, sir. Thank you for listening to the Caring for Strangers podcast. If you like the episode, we would love for you to leave a comment or a rating, or just pop in and say hello. Head over to caringforstrangers.com to reach out to us.